I am removing Schnabel and myself in 3, 2.
Hi, my name's Ross Brewer. I'm the General Manager and Vice President for Attack IQ's Europe, Middle East and Africa business. I'd like to thank Westcon for inviting Attack IQ to present on IoT and 5G and the impact on cybersecurity. Now, before we move on with the actual presentation and talk about Attack IQ, we actually have an academy where we provide free training, which I will be covering later. And we actually have a executive module, and part of that covers 5G and IoT with Art Langer, who's the director of Columbia University Center for Technology Management, as well as the professor for professional practice at Columbia University. So with that being said, we just thought I'd play you a snippet of Art's presentation, and then we'll come back to my presentation.
So let's first talk about what's going on right now. And it all starts with 5G, all right, which many of you know is being rolled out immediately post-COVID-19. Now, what is the issue with 5G as it relates to the next generation of architecture that we're experiencing? Well, simply put, 5G is 100 times faster than its predecessor, 4G. Okay, what does that simply mean? Well, it means that your smartphone is going to become substantially more powerful in two particular areas. One, in transmission rate of data going back and forth. And the second is the amount of sophisticated applications that will be able to reside on your smartphone and on other kinds of networks, and the ability to transport new applications back and forth simply because I have 100 times enhanced transmission rate. Okay, that sets the base. Now let's go to the next issue as we go through this little flow diagram. With 5G being 100 times faster, it simply makes Internet of Things more reliable and practical. And what does that suggest? An incredible explosion of IoT devices around the world. And those IoT devices will be accessible not only through the traditional internet, but also through mobile devices, which enhances accessibility in an incredible way. And those IoT devices will not only have edge, as they're calling it, applications, which will also interact with those applications that are sitting on your intelligent or smartphone. It will increase, dramatic increase in data capture. So what's happening in our lives as we're speaking right now is the amount of data that will come available, which is instigated, if you will, through the explosion of IoT devices, which is now more reliable and pragmatic and practical through the coming of 5G, simply makes, as we sit here and look at mobile devices, get smarter. Mobile devices get smarter and more powerful. Now you see here that there's a fork in the road, all right? The dramatic increase in data capture affects two significant things. One, the devices get smarter, more data is coming in. But then there's the lower part of this fork in the road, which relates to your world. And that is you have more security exposure simply because there's more data that's running around everywhere and stopping in different places. And that suggests that we need better cybersecurity. So let's first talk about what's going on right now. And it all starts with 5G, all right, which many of you know is being rolled out immediately post-COVID-19. Now, what is the issue with 5G as it relates to the next generation of architecture that we're experiencing? Well, simply put, 5G is 100.
Right. So I didn't realize that was on a loop. So do you want me to start again, and I'll do the intro and start that piece again?
Yes, please, Ross. Let's go ahead and do that.
I realized that media was on a loop. Hang on.
No stress.
Finish out. Let me have a look here. How do I deal with this?
So let's first talk about what's going on right now.
Edit that, because I put a new video into the system for that. Inspect, choose, edit, inspector. I don't want to. Properties, okay, move to the no loop, stop. Okay, cool. All right. So we go to play. Okay, so we go back to me. Okay, all right. So we'll go from the top. Just go back.
Okay, perfect.
1 second, stop my counter. Just reset my counter. Okay, ready when you are.
Okay, perfect. In 3, 2.
Hi, my name's Ross Brewer. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Attack IQ's Europe, Middle East and Africa and APJ business units. And I would like to thank Westcon for inviting us today to talk about the impact of IoT and 5G on cybersecurity. Now, before we get into that, we thought it might be a good idea to share with you an extract from a course that we actually have in our free training academy from Dr. Art Langer. Dr. Art Langer is the director of Columbia University Center for Technology Management. He's also the professor of professional practice at Columbia University. And you can see the link to the course. We can make these slides available, but we thought that having Art give his view on IoT and 5G would be a nice sort of foundation for this presentation.
So let's first talk about what's going on. Right now. And it all starts with 5G, all right, which many of you know is being rolled out immediately post-COVID.
I should have put this on a macro. Sorry, could I start again?
Sure thing, Russ, no problem.
Yeah, I should have put it on a macro. Just be with me a second. Go to there and go to there. Okay, cool. All right, sorry about that.
No stress. Okay, removing myself in 3, 2.
Hi, my name's Ross Brewer. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Attack IQ's Europe, Middle East and Africa, as well as the Asia, Pacific and Japan business units. I'd like to thank Westcon for having us speak today on the impact of 5G and IoT on cybersecurity. Before we get into that, we thought it might be a nice idea to share an extract from a course by Dr. Art Langer. He is the director of Columbia University Center for Technology Management, as well as the professor of professional practice at Columbia University in New York. And he has kindly done a module in our academy, which is a free training facility that Attack IQ provides. We'll make the slides available. You can see the link on the bottom here. And as I said, we'll just hear from Art before we get into the actual security side.
So let's first talk about what's going on right now. And it all starts with 5G, all right, which many of you know is being rolled out immediately post-COVID-19. Now, what is the issue with 5G as it relates to the next generation of architecture that we're experiencing? Well, simply put, 5G is 100 times faster than its predecessor, 4G. Okay, what does that simply mean? Well, it means that your smartphone is going to become substantially more powerful in two particular areas. One, in transmission rate of data going back and forth. And the second is the amount of sophisticated applications that will be able to reside on your smartphone and on other kinds of networks, and the ability to transport new applications back and forth simply because I have 100 times enhanced transmission rate. Okay, that sets the base. Now let's go to the next issue as we go through this little flow diagram. With 5G being 100 times faster, it simply makes Internet of Things more reliable and practical. And what does that suggest? An incredible explosion of IoT devices around the world. And those IoT devices will be accessible not only through the traditional internet, but also through mobile devices, which enhances accessibility in an incredible way. And those IoT devices will not only have edge, as they're calling it, applications, which will also interact with those applications that are sitting on your intelligent or smartphone. It will increase, dramatic increase in data capture. So what's happening in our lives as we're speaking right now is the amount of data that will come available, which is instigated, if you will, through the explosion of IoT devices, which is now more reliable and pragmatic and practical through the coming of 5G, simply makes, as we sit here and look at mobile devices, get smarter. Mobile devices get smarter and more powerful. Now you see here that there's a fork in the road, all right? The dramatic increase in data capture affects two significant things. One, the devices get smarter, more data is coming in, but then there's the lower part of this fork in the road, which relates to your world. And that is you have more security exposure simply because there's more data that's running around everywhere and stopping in different places. And that suggests that we need better cybersecurity.
Thank you, Dr. Langer. And that's where the rest of this discussion carries on in terms of the impact on cybersecurity and the fact that things are happening 100 times faster. Data can be exfiltrated at larger volumes a lot more quickly, and we need to sort of deal with that. This coincides with a sort of change in the industry, which is really being driven by the sort of MITRE Ingenuity Center for Threat-Informed Defense, which is what's called a threat-informed defense. And a threat-informed defense is really applying sort of an understanding of the adversarial tradecraft, looking at the tools, the techniques and procedures that they would likely use against your organization, and then ensuring that your defenses are capable of withstanding their attacks. Now, why is this transition to a threat-informed defense happening at the moment? Well, if you think about it historically from a cybersecurity perspective, we've really focused on sort of a top-down governance, risk, and compliance approach. And that was really about capabilities. Do you have a firewall? Do you have encryption? Do you have logging? Whereas now we're moving to more about the effectiveness of our security, not about building capabilities. And the reason for that is that if you look at the data breach investigation reports by Verizon, in excess of 80% of the breaches, the security control was available to stop the breach but didn't. So what does this mean? It means that security controls are failing often, and they're failing silently. And there's no feedback loop to tell us in cybersecurity that our controls have failed. For that matter, our security posture has failed. Now, the MITRE organization in 2015 released the MITRE attack framework, which really allowed us to focus on the philosophy of assumed breach. So if you think about the last few weeks, there's been some major headlines of new exploits, new vulnerabilities, and these become new entry points for the adversarial community to enter into an organization. And assume breach means that's going to happen. We assume that to be the case. But what we need to do is we need to test our rest of our control framework based on the fact that they will get in, but we want to make sure that they can't escalate privileges, they can't establish a foothold, they can't traverse the environment, they can't find our crown jewels, they can't exfiltrate our crown jewels, they can't establish persistence and maintain a command and control. And the MITRE attack framework gives us a taxonomy, a language, if you will, that we can all talk about our capabilities and our effectiveness based on the backdrop of testing it against the adversarial tools, techniques, and behaviors. Now, Attack IQ, as an organization, we are a software vendor based out of Silicon Valley in the US. We have a platform that's the largest, most open, most closely aligned to MITRE attack, whereby we do at scale production testing, which is what I was just talking about a moment ago, testing our capabilities by emulating the adversarial behavior and testing our controls to ensure that those activities are stopped in their tracks. Now, we have deep partnerships with many of the top cybersecurity vendors where they share in our Preactive Security Exchange, where they use Attack IQ to test their capabilities against MITRE attack. And then we spend a lot of time with organizations focusing on the practice. This is our academy, where you saw the extract from Dr. Art Langer a moment ago, where we're training on best practice subjects as it relates to a threat-informed defense, breach and attack simulation, purple teaming. And then we have our Informed Defenders community, where we have executives from a variety of blue chip organizations. So we're not only helping the practitioners from a practice standpoint, but we're also helping the executives. And then finally, we've developed blueprints with our existing customers to help new customers deploy more quickly and get a faster return on investment and achieve value based on activities and a process that's been used and proven to be successful in other customers. Now, as I said, we're very closely aligned to MITRE attack. So within our platform, you'll see heat maps and dashboards that will show you not only the ability to measure prevention, but detection as well. And then we have very easily selectable assessment templates based on whether this be the latest threats. You can see there that the log4 shell or log4j that was only a few days ago, it might be the latest threats, or you might be looking at baselining security controls, or looking at compliance mandates such as NIST 853 and others. And then we have a complete library of tools, techniques, and procedures, whether you want to filter this by ransomware groups, by security controls, by different flavors, whether it be cloud-based technologies, you know, AWS, GCP, or Microsoft Azure. And within this library, we have several thousand scenarios that you can point to, as well as customize and add your own. And then we provide detailed high-level reporting on, in organizations control framework to help them make much more informed decisions. And what we mean by this is being able to answer those difficult questions. What's working? What's not working? Where should we invest next? How do we know those investments are being effective? How do we show management we're doing a good job? How do we show management we need more investment? And then finally, how do we deal with the latest threat? And what do we do tomorrow? Do we pull the cables out of the wall, or can we show management that we're on top of that particular exploit and we're safe to carry on? Then finally, I mentioned MITRE ATT&CK, and MITRE ATT&CK is now sitting with the Center for Threat Informed Defense, which is a consortium of organizations helping MITRE with funding and resources to continue the expansion and adoption of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And as you can see, ATT&CK is a founding research partner of the Center for Threat Informed Defense. And so we work and fund a number of research projects that help the industry and help our customers and inform our strategy, our sort of product and our practices. And just to highlight some of the work that the CTID is doing, there's a number of research projects that you might be interested in visiting the website and having a look at. And ATT&CK has been an active participant in many of these. I'm just going to highlight two in particular that are sort of relevant to this discussion. So NIST 853, which is a GRC framework mapped to MITRE ATT&CK, and then the CVE, the Common Vulnerability Exposures, being IOCs, indications of compromise, have been mapped to MITRE ATT&CK. So for the first time in the industry, we're sort of mapping what's called governance, risk, and compliance, GRC, down to TTPs, tools, techniques, and procedures, and then mapping those to indications of compromise. And that's going to help security practitioners much more effectively navigate their effectiveness and their efficiency. Mentioned our academy that we launched coming up 2 years ago. We have over 25,000 students from 180 plus countries taking all manner of best practice subjects. It's all completely free, and you get credits towards your certain certifications, and we'd welcome you to join the academy and look at Dr. Art Langer's course and others. And then really what ATT&CK is building for enterprises is the ability to get feedback and make much more better informed decisions. So we're building that missing feedback loop to tell organizations whether their controls are working, whether they're effective, whether their processes, their people, their SOC, their security teams are actually picking up on the activity that they're meant to. So for the first time at enterprise scale, we're offering organizations the ability to measure the efficacy and efficiency of their cyber security program. And with that, we'll leave you with, as I said, you can get these slides from Westcon. You can click and link out to our website or link out to Academy. And I would like to thank you for taking this time and thank Westcon. And we hope you have a good time. Bye for now. Okay.
Perfect, Ross. That went really well.
Okay, did that come across okay?
Yes, indeed. It was perfect.
Okay, so I just want to cut to a different background. So have you stopped recording, or do you still record?
Yeah, we're still recording now.
Okay, all right, let me just flick a background here quickly. So that's that. So I've just looked into the camera, so you could, that's another background that we have that I normally sort of change to finish on. So if you're able to swap, I'll just look into the camera for a second.
Yeah, that's perfect, that background. So we're going to do a 1-minute teaser video now for Westcon social media. basically just introducing yourself, introducing your topic, and speaking about obviously that you will be presenting at the 5G and IoT Summit, and that you look forward to seeing them. If you want to mention that they can register now, that would also be great. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I will change this. All right. So.
Perfect. So I'm just going to remove
And do I do my title at this point?
Yes. So you can introduce yourself and your designation and your topic, and just basically get people excited for the 5G and IoT Summit. Okay, and removing myself in 3. Oh wait, removing Schnabel and myself in 3, 2.
Hi, my name's Ross Brewer. I'm the Vice President at Attack IQ for Europe, Middle East. Hi, my name's Ross Brewer. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Attack IQ in Europe, Middle East and Africa, and Asia Pacific and Japan. And I'd like to let you know that we're about to present at the Westcon Summit on IoT and 5G, where we're going to learn that the data rates are going to be 100 times faster. So that's going to have a big impact on cybersecurity. And we need to really understand how we're all going to get 100 times better at doing what we do in order to get ahead of the hackers and the criminals that are going to try and leverage these technologies. So please register today. And I'd like to thank Westcon for inviting Attack IQ. And we look forward to seeing you all there.
That was perfect.
That was
Schnabel,
good. Thanks, Ross. Yes, I am.
Just one thing though, on your presentation, there was a brief moment about 12 minutes in where a notification popped up. Schnabel, is that going to be an issue?
And it was while he was speaking, but I think it was in a gap. I thought it was in a gap when he was speaking.
Yeah, it wasn't the most distracting thing, but let's just double check with Schnabel.
I can replay.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, can you see the sound? Can you see the sound waves there? I thought the beep. I think you can get rid of the beep. I thought it was I don't think it was a beep over him talking. I'm not sure.
So I can't actually check it right this moment. I have to end the broadcast first.
Would you like me to record that first bit quickly?